Okay, Erev Tov everyone. We are back to winter scheduling. So now the shiur is in between Mincha and Arvit and not after Arvit. And because I try to keep to the clock, I can't really continue with the mitzvot because I don't want to just stop in the middle. So we will go back to the laws of Lashon Hara as we started last year. And there's probably a little feeling in yourself right now where you're like, oh, here we go. But that feeling, that's your Yetzer Hara saying, maybe you don't want to listen. Yeah. Or it could be your Yetzer Tov that's telling you that it's working. Okay? So there's never enough reminders for the study of Lashon Hara. We did quite a bit last year, B'li Ayin Hara. We did 6 whole klalim. And now we're beginning Klal 7. For those of you listening online, and those here in the audience, today is the 54th shiur on Lashon Hara. That so if you want review, you can go back onto on the podcast. You can hear on the YouTube channel. You can hear all the previous shiurim, and every shiur is really new halachot. He's teaching us new things. So it's incredible that we've already given 53 classes on Lashon Hara with a wealth of information, and we're not even done the first volume of this wonderful set that ArtSchool put out not long ago. So here we are, Klal Zayin in Hilchot Lashon Hara, and as always, we're going to try to stick to beginning Arvit, 18 minutes after sunset. So keep that in mind as we go by. Okay, so Halacha Aleph in Klal Zayin says, Isur Kabbalat Lashon Hara, the Avera of accepting Lashon Hara is Afilu im HaMesaper, Mesaper et HaDevarim Befirsum. Even if Reuven related this negative information publicly, Lifne Kama Anashim, in front of several people. So, although Reuven had no problem, he had no busha, and he brazenly repeated this information in front of everybody else, and knowing that Shimon would probably hear it as well, Afalpichen en leachlit machmat zeh. Those people who are hearing the report from Reuven cannot conclude based on his brazenness she'adavar emet, that the report is true. Rak yesh le'ashom'im lachush lazeh, they can consider that it's true. Ve'lachkor et hadavar, investigate the matter. Ve'im yitparer lahem she'adavar emet, yochichuhu al zeh. And if they discover the matter that what Reuven said about Shimon is true, then they can go to Shimon and rebuke him accordingly. Okay. En shum heter leha'amin belashon hara. There is no license whatsoever. Oh, there's an interesting scenario here. Okay, we'll read the scenario as we normally do. A group of boys are discussing the reason a classmate left yeshiva. They float various theories until one boy discloses that he heard from the subject himself that he had been expelled. Even though the speaker sounds authoritative and is giving his information in front of several people, they are not allowed to believe that it's true. Okay, so there's a scenario that we can relate to. Okay, halacha bet. En shum heter leha'amin belashon hara. There is no license whatsoever for Levi to believe Lashon Hara that Reuven said about Shimon. Afilu im mesaper siper alav halashon hara befanav. Even if Reuven said the Lashon Hara in Shimon's presence and Shimon doesn't protest. So I could be talking really bad about a person right in front of him, and that person does not answer it. Right? We would say shetikat kodah. He's quiet, so he seems to accept what I'm saying. And person number 3 is listening to this. Look, he's not even responding. It must be true. So, no, you're not even allowed to accept him in that situation. That's not proof. His silence is not proof that it's true. Because we have not heard Shimon confess to having committed the misdeed, the alleged misdeed. V'chol sheken im en mesaper ata befanav. Certainly, in a case where Reuven does not actually say the report in front of Shimon, rak omer she'aya omer et hadvarim elu befanav, but he just claims that he would have said the following if Shimon was here. You hear that a lot. Right? If Shimon was here, I would tell him in his face that this is what he did, right? So they sound confident, and then a person listening to this is saying to himself, it's got to be true, because he's saying if Shimon was here, he would have said in front of Shimon. Okay? In that case as well, it's prohibited to believe the Lashon Hara based on this. So this is a Kal Vachomer. Not only are you not allowed to believe Reuven if he's doing it in front of Shimon, but certainly if he's doing it not in front of Shimon, you wouldn't be allowed to believe it. Sadly, because of our many sins, people stumble in this matter very much when people are told Lashon Hara like this, right? Because the guy sounds very confident, right? He says, I have no problem telling him in his face what he did is wrong, and then so everyone's listening to this. Okay, he must be telling the truth. So they start to believe it, and that's a very common avera that people stumble in. Va'afilu im hu shotek ata, even though maybe Shimon remained silent, when derogatory statements were said about him. One cannot deduce any type of proof from the fact that Shimon was silent, to conclude that it's true. And this applies even if Shimon's natural tendency is not to remain quiet. Sometimes, let's say Shimon is normally a guy that reacts very often. And now all of a sudden he's quiet. So you're saying to yourself, well, that's weird, because normally Shimon won't put up with this. And the fact that he's quiet, maybe it's true. We're saying no. It makes no difference. You can't believe it. When people say something that's not to his liking and he normally would not remain silent, and this time he did remain silent, that's still not a reason to believe that what was said is true. Why? Maybe, number one, maybe all of a sudden, for the first time, Baruch Hashem, he controlled his emotions, and he controlled his anger, or whatever it is, and he chose to remain silent in the face of these accusations. And he decided, I'm not going to get into a fight, it's not worth it, so therefore I'm just going to stay quiet. Or another reason, maybe Shimon, the reason why Shimon decided to remain silent is because he looked at the situation and he said, even if I was to speak up, I know the people are going to believe him more than they're going to believe me. Because that is the bad minhag of the world, of the masses, shemuskam Islam, who automatically presume that if an accuser the accuser has the nerve to say something in front of the guy's face, okay, then it must be true, and they're going to believe Reuven automatically. So Shimon saying, what even the point of me responding? Not even a point, no purpose. So that's why he remained quiet. And even if Shimon denies the report 100 times, they still don't believe him. Therefore, Shimon may have probably resolved, better to keep quiet, and be a person who is debased, embarrassed, and not respond. Therefore, it's forbidden for a listener to take Shimon's silence as proof. Here also there is a scenario that he quotes. Scenario B: two brothers, Asher and Levi, are waiting for another brother, Yehuda, to arrive to help their father build a sukkah. Yehuda texts a vague excuse, informing them that he won't be coming. Asher guesses that the reason has to do with Yehuda's demanding wife, and states that he would be willing to say this directly to Yehuda. When my brother comes, I'm going to tell him it's because your wife, she's demanding and she doesn't let you come, and I'm going to tell him. Okay? Nevertheless, that fact does not give Levi a basis on which to believe the Lashon Hara of Yehuda's wife. Just because, again, he feels that he has no problem saying it to his wife. Okay. Halacha Gimel. Just like it's forbidden to accept Lashon Hara heard from one person, so too, it's forbidden to believe Lashon Hara even if he hears it from two or more. It goes without saying When these speakers who are deemed evildoers, Resha'im, by virtue of speaking Lashon Hara about a Jew, certainly one may not believe what they report, since even according to their account, that so-and-so acted improperly, they have violated the prohibition of being a slander, which that prohibition applies even if what was said was true. If so, the speakers are deemed Resha'im because of their sin of speaking Lashon Hara about a fellow Jew. And how can we believe such people? We say when they talk about another Jew, he's basically using a very simple logic. Why are you believing on Rasha? Right? You are considered Rasha if you speak Lashon Hara. So therefore, now you're going to believe him. And the person he's talking about, it has a cheskat kashrut. This guy's there's nothing wrong with this guy. There's no reason to believe that he violated anything. He has a chazakah that he's a kosher guy. So you choose to believe that Rasha who's talking about the kosher guy. That's how people go. That's what people think. For a person is one to violate the prohibition of Lashon Hara. Chashud leshaker ulachlif ulosif. He's suspected of lying, changing details, embellishing the facts of the story. Uma bekach shehem trei. And since this Lashon Hara speaker lacks credibility, what difference is there if there's two speakers relating their account? Makes no difference. Afilu arbe yoter. Even if there are many more speakers than two, they shouldn't be believed. Kesher reshaim en mina minyan. Because for a group of Resha'im, there is no credence. Ela, afilu imhu davar she'en na'asim Resha'im ay desipuram, even if the Lashon Hara report pertains to a matter that one is allowed to relate, which we already learned something for to'elet, for an advantage, and therefore they're not Resha'im, because if you're allowed to relate it, then it's not, you're not Rasha. Im ha'emet itam, assuming that the report is truth, afilu hachi asu lekabed divreim. You're still not allowed to accept their words, ulaminam be'achlata, and believe it implicitly. Okay? The end chal shem edut afilu asnaim beyoter ela bevedin. Because he's a big chidush over here. The only time we take into account the words of two people or more is in bedin, is in a court. Again, is assuming that there's legal truth to this, and therefore it has to be said. So and so owes me money. Here's my two witnesses. Okay, beseder, and I got the witnesses. So we believe it. So only in a bedin. Aval chutz lebedin. But if it was made outside of bedin, that's not legal testimony. What's your testimony worth if you stand on top of a roof and yell it all day? It's not. It doesn't matter. The afilu in yomru sheker. Because even if they had lied outside the bedin, enam nikraim ede sheker, they're not regarded as false witnesses. Ki motzi shemra be'alma. They're just called the motzi shemra, but they're not called false witnesses. V'chol zeh. So there's a scenario over here. Scenario C: several members of a shul became convinced that one man was not keeping the community's kashrut standard. The rumor spread, and ultimately, one man heard it from several different people. Because all these people were repeating and believing a rumor, they are behaving like Resha'im, and therefore, despite the fact that so many people are telling the same story, none of them may be believed.
Wow.
Okay? Now again, you may considering is not the same as believing the story. Alright? Considering means like, okay, if this guy may not be keeping up the proper kashrut standards, and he might be a caterer in the community that cooks from his home, so now I'm doing a party, or I have a function, and so I have to consider this information that was told to me, and therefore I have to do my proper homework, or if I choose not to, but believing it is a different story. Okay, these are things that we spoke about in the previous classes. Everything we said about not accepting Lashon Hara refers to concluding the report to be true. That's what he says here. But to just consider the possibility, that is fine. Even if you heard it from only one person. Let's do one more halakha and then we'll conclude. Vehu adin. The prohibition of accepting Lashon Hara applies also im yatsa kol al echad she'asa ma'aseh diber davar. If a rumor circulates that a certain person did or said something, shelo kara'ui al pi Torah, that is improper according to the Torah. Ben shehu isur hamur, whether it's a severe prohibition, ben shehu isur kal, or a minor one. Afilu hachi asur lekablo, you're not allowed to accept it. La'amino be'achlata, and to believe it as fact. Rak lachush. Again, you can be concerned until you clarify the matter. Certainly one should take great care if he wishes to repeat this rumor to others who have not heard it, that you don't intend to spread any false rumors further, like we explained above. There's a lot more over there discussed. So there's two scenarios over here, and we'll conclude. Scenario D: two workers at a candy shop warn their new manager that a stock boy tends to pocket some candy as he works. Even though there are two witnesses, their testimony cannot be considered valid because the validity conferred by two witnesses' testimony applies only in an official bedin. You are allowed to suspect that the information is true and be on guard. Scenario E: everyone in town has seen the picture in the town shopper of the owner of the local drugstore being taken away in handcuffs, charged with insurance fraud. A man tells his friend that he read the accompanying article and relates the details of the alleged fraud. This report may not be believed as fact because the accused may not be guilty and news reports may not be accurate.
Correct.
All right? Unbelievable. Don't trust even the newspapers unless it's something innocent until proven guilty. That's what it is. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue next time.